Colonel Kemp, there have been so many claims that Israel has been recklessly and even deliberately slaughtering civilians. Every civilian death is obviously tragic, and if only it could be avoided. But whether Israel has been reckless, I don't know. Hamas now claims that more than 34,000 Palestinians have died in this war, 70% of them women and children. I've seen statisticians actually saying that's impossibly high, that number. What do you believe? Is it 70% women and children dead among the casualties of this war?
I've been inside Gaza a few times since the war began on the ground with the IDF, and I've seen the way they fight, and they fight both from the ground and from the air with great caution, trying to everything they can to minimize the deaths of innocent civilians. And they've set up essentially an apparatus which is unseen in the Western world. No other army has achieved what the IDF have achieved in working to destroy their enemies while minimizing the deaths of the civilian population. And they've been, I believe, very, very successful. We can't, of course, believe the Hamas figure of 34,000, which I think they've also revised down to about 21,000 a week or so ago. But we can't take those figures as being authoritative. It might be that number, it might be more, it might be significantly less. We just don't know. But what we do believe, according to IDF estimates, is that they've killed something like 13 to 15,000 Hamas terrorists since the war began. If you do take the Hamas figures as being roughly accurate, but you then deduct from the overall figures, both that 15,000, 13,000, 15,000, and you deduct the people who have been killed by Hamas themselves, either by rockets dropping short, which is about 20% of all the rockets they fired, or by deliberate murder of their own people, which they've done on a large scale, plus death by natural causes, it brings you down, in my calculation, to a figure of less than one civilian killed for every combatant, which sounds terrible, and it is terrible, but it's much, much better than the United States, Great Britain, and other allies achieved in other conflicts. For example, it was 3 civilians to 1 combatant in Iraq and 5 civilians to 1 combatant in Afghanistan. So the IDF, through extraordinary measures, I think have achieved a very impressive civilian to military casualty ratio. Although even that, every death of a civilian is terrible, but it's very hard to avoid at all. It's impossible to avoid, particularly when Hamas are doing everything they can to try and maximize the deaths of innocent civilians inside Gaza.